Welcome back, everybody, to Wake and Bake News. My name is PaperSin, and I'm awake. I'm bathed. I'm here to bring you some news. Now, do you guys remember um, Reckless Ben? He's a YouTuber. He's a YouTuber that is currently going through a lot of issues when it comes to, dealing with a certain company. You see, he he was pretty much, asked to help out with a situation involving Legos. He, oh, excuse me, the person who asked him to make some Legos or who asked him to sell the person who asked him to help him get his Legos back. Sorry, the person who helped him who asked him to help him get his Legos back got his Legos taken by a company called Bricks and Minifigs. And so Reckless Ben has been trying to get them to just return the Legos this entire time. However, it seems like he's been having so much trouble. And at every time he tries to make a move, it got to the point where the cops were willingly and knowingly just trying to figure out what they can pin on him in order to arrest him, because they were trying to help the bad guy, pretty much the bad guy, get away with what they were doing. And there were so many lies told. They were even like tried to arrest him for having heroin. They searched his car for drugs or alcohol or anything like that. And they just kind of pressed them for a good minute and to see if they could get them to, confess to having, substances on them or being influenced in any way. Talking about your eyes look kind of glossy. I don't know. Your eyes, to me, your eyes look glossy. Like, bro. So Reckless Ben has been going through a lot of trouble in helping to get these Legos back. And eventually, yeah, he was arrested. Yeah, they arrested him. They got him on something about having a GoFundMe. And now they're trying to press charges on him and keep him in jail and imprison him so he can no longer help this person get their Legos back. And this situation has blown up so big that it's kind of like ruining that company's image. You feel me? However, there is good news for Reckless Ben. You see, we have a video here by Legal Mindset. We have two videos here actually talking about a move that could save Reckless Ben. That's how it starts. And let's check it out. Oops, hold on, wait. Wrong thing. Let me do this. That's different. But yeah, here it is. Reckless Ben, legal mindset talking about Reckless Ben and a move that could save him called the RICO case overturned? ?
Big update in the Bricks and Minifigs case as we have an intervention that may end up blowing this wide open. Of course, this is the Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney. And this has been a wild ride in the case of Reckless Ben, Bricks and Minifigs, which has now become a massive legal battle. And one thing that we've got to pay attention is Reckless Ben's RICO case. He has this massive case that he is now facing, and that is coming to a head very soon with.
Bro, I'm glad you put the RICO case definition on there because I had it pulled up as well so I could say it, so I can mention it. I can mention it here. Also, I wanted to mention that this guy is literally went to jail, right? Because he's in jail right now. He's not in prison, I think. But he's behind bar. He literally went behind bars for a YouTube video, to make a YouTube video. But he was doing the right thing instead of harassing people, like a lot of streamers you see doing. Instead of harassing people, he's doing the right thing, trying to help somebody. And he was pressing the dude so hard that the dude ended up having the cops, who, by the way, the cops are, this story is so fucking good. I'm not gonna lie, it's a good story. The cops are, the cops and the guy the bad guy, the Bricks and Minifigs guy, they're they're all in the same community, and obviously, but they're also all what is it, Mormon? So they all go to like the same church and everything. Well, people are saying they're going to the same church. I don't know if they actually go to the same church or whatever, but apparently they're all Mormon, and they are like doing whatever they can to try to help this guy out. Like the shit is ridiculous. If y'all haven't seen the story, you should check it out on Reckless Ben's channel, and yeah, see for yourself how crazy this is. But I digress. RICO case. A RICO case is a civil or criminal lawsuit brought under the Federal Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act, alleging a pattern of racketeering activity used to operate, control, or acquire an interest in an enterprise.
He is now facing, and that is coming to a head very soon, with hearings on that coming up imminently, like very, very, very soon. And one big decider here is the Law Gormans, which have now filed officially a motion to intervene in this case. Now, we're going to explain all about this, exactly what that means. But first, this important message. Recently, a jury ordered Meta and YouTube to pay millions for their role in designing and promoting addictive platforms.
Shout out to Andrew Esquire for getting the sponsored ad. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to you. Shout out to you. I personally I prefer a nice segue into the ad segment. You know what I'm saying? Um, but a straight hard cut. A straight cut like that. Yeah, yeah.
They knew their apps could contribute to anxiety, depression, and body image issues, but did not share those risks while prioritizing profits. The recent historic verdict underscores the consequences of those decisions. If you or your child spent years growing up on social media and experienced serious mental health struggles, you should hear this. Morgan & Morgan is stepping up to hold these platforms accountable for the harm they caused. You can use the link in my description or scan the QR code to take a short quiz to see if you qualify for a case. You may be entitled to a potential recovery of over $1,000. Okay, now, here's some context for those that need background. Obviously, you've got Reckless Ben. His stolen Lego allegations involve a time when the franchise was owned by Crystal Law and Ben Gorman. That's what we're going to call them, the Law Gormans. Ben confronted several people in Utah, leading to him getting misdemeanor charges. We've also talked about that on my previous videos. Charges like stalking, trespass, disorderly conduct. And on May 30th, 2026, BAM, Bricks and Minifigs Corporate, filed a civil RICO case against Ben, the Mansells, and others, alleging coordinated harassment and extortion. Now, that was huge because that came along with a TRO, a temporary injunction, which really stopped Ben from creating content. And he came out with a video explaining as much.
Episode 3 is finally finished, but I can't post it or I will go to jail. I am no longer allowed to even mention this mystery company.
Now, the Law Gormans have a separate lawsuit, a completely separate from Ben, separate from everything. They have a lawsuit going with BAM Franchising over an alleged
let me understand.
Along harassment and extortion.
Okay. May 30th, BAM Corporate filed a civil RICO case against Ben. Okay.
Now that was huge because that came along with a TRO, a temporary injunction, which really stopped Ben from creating,
which is a court order commanding or preventing an action until the final outcome of the litigation. Court order commanding or preventing a final action. Preventing an inaction to the final outcome. A temporary injunction is issued after the adverse party has been given notice and an opportunity to be heard. Okay. So he has to have a chance to speak. Good. And it usually remains in force until the court enters a final judgment in the case. After the adverse party has given notice.
Reading content, and he came out with a video explaining as much.
Episode 3 is finally finished, but I can't post it or I will go to jail. I am no longer allowed to even mention this mystery company.
Now, the Law Gormans have a separate lawsuit, a completely separate from Ben, separate from everything. They have a lawsuit going with BAM Franchising over an alleged wrongful franchise seizure. So they've got this separate lawsuit that they have an interest in going after against BAM. So now what they want to do is they want to come into the case with Ben, with Reckless Ben, and they want to intervene. Now, they are not going to be full defendants or litigate the entirety of the case, but what they're really concerned about is narrowing or dissolving that temporary restraining order that's keeping Ben from speaking. And so what do we've got here? Well, the first important thing for intervention is that they're not defendants, right? That's key. The other thing is that TRO is overreaching. And by having such a strong restraining order that keeps him from making any videos, that potentially chills free speech, right? It doesn't allow people to publish the truth, to get news out there. And that's very important for them, given their separate fight with BAM, Bricks and Minifigs. And that could impair their ability. That could hurt their lawsuit and their discussion of the facts. If they're not able to discuss their case, that's going to hurt their case. So they're asking the judge to narrow or strike the takedown, clarify that the order does not bind the Law Gormans, or just decline to give a preliminary injunction. So say, hey, everybody can speak about things. There's no limits. And let's look at the legal.
Yeah, so they already got him behind bars. Now they want to limit his speech so he can't say shit, so that they can actually get him, keep him behind bars. You feel me? So he doesn't actually get out, or so he has a better chance of staying put and not being able to actually defend himself. That's kind of messed up. They really want to get rid of this kid, yo. It's kind of creepy with the kind of things. Well, I don't know how big the big Bricks and Minifigs company is, but it's kind of messed up how these companies are going to be willing to go the distance just to make sure they get you behind bars. Or keep you from doing a certain action, like the power that some of these guys have.
Standard here. This is very important. For intervention, there's really two types of intervention. Number one, intervention as a right, and number two, permissive intervention. There is a very strong argument under the rules of procedure, which I had a chance to go look up and discuss with some of my Utah colleagues. There's some strong points for intervention here under the permissive intervention. That is because there's common issues of law and fact, because the scope of the injunction is too broad, it's chilling speech, that's First Amendment, that's a problem, and because, and this is a very key fact.
Yeah, you gotta let them speak.
That restraining order mentions specifically Brian and Crystal, so it literally name drops them. And because they've got their names in that order, they've got a strong reason to intervene and to be pulled in this case.
Okay.
So when you look at my judgment here, what I think is going to happen, this is a very smart, limited play by the Law Gormans to protect their own case while also getting good PR. Everybody is on the side against BAM right now, it seems like, and they're able to come in.
BAM is Bricks and Minifigs.
And say, hey, we're helping Reckless Ben. We're on the side of good here. We're coming in and doing a positive thing by opening this up, by not, have restricting speech, by allowing free speech. And I do think they have a very clear interest to intervene, and going over the odds and talking to people about it, I think they've got about a 75 to 80% chance of intervening and having an effect here. So that doesn't mean necessarily that the judge is going to get rid of the TRO, but just for them to be permitted to intervene and then the judge to consider what they said seriously. So I think they're probably allowed to do that. Now, one clear thing here is not everybody can intervene. A lot of times, many people want to step in the case, they want to get involved, but the judge says no. There's no, in this case, they don't have a right, 100% right to come into the case, but the judge has a good reason to permit them to come into the case. I think there's a 75 to 80% chance they come in on that. And
okay, yeah, I was just about to say, well, okay, what if they're allowed to? Like, how good is that for Ben, Reckless Ben?
If this happens, if this indeed happens, are allowed to come in, Reckless Ben's part 3, his whole strategy now opens up. It gives him a lot more leverage. Okay. So I am absolutely waiting to see what happens with this TRO, with this hearing that is coming up very shortly. But I want to know what...
Okay. So that would be the good news for Reckless Ben. And hold up. Ooh. Anyway, getting used to the new shit, right? So that would be the good news for Reckless Ben. Now, can this happen? Can this happen for him? Can he somehow find a way? Because right now they're trying to keep him from speaking. Obviously, not good. We want him here to hit a man, be able to speak, defend himself. Like, don't just lock him away. Like, let us hear this shit. Like, let him speak. You're arresting the wrong guy. Like, judge, please, just give us a chance. Well, it turns out Reckless Ben flips the board. RICO case moved to federal court. We have the second part video here by Legal Mindset. I keep wrong. I'm getting used to shit. Hold on. There we go. Second video here by Legal Mindset. And yeah, as always, links will be in the description below. Let's see what happened. How much good news is this for Reckless Ben?
The Lego scandal is going federal. We're going to talk about it today on The Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney. And I've been covering this bricks and minifig scandal, the Lego scandal, really from the beginning. And
bro, it looks like he doesn't even get some sleep. Like he might look tired. His eyes looking red. I know he don't smoke, but he look a little bit tired.
Have a new massive turn here today as the case appears to be heading from state court to federal court. So first of all, some background here. On June 26, Ben, that is Reckless Ben, and Victor Wynn filed a notice of removal in the U.S. District Court for Utah. That is the federal court. So essentially, that is the one that covers all of Utah. There's one district in Utah, so it's not like Florida where there's several districts, like a North and a South district. There's just one for Utah. So they filed it in that district and said, hey, we want to remove this to federal court. Now, BAM Bricks and Minifigs has 30 days to fight this motion. And
I feel like it should be BAMF, BAMF, Bricks and Minifigs. Figs as in figures.
And while this is going on, there are also ongoing mediations. So the mediation is ongoing, that discussion is ongoing, and that has been ongoing since the state court RICO case was filed by Bricks and Minifigs Corporate against Reckless Ben. So they're allowed to keep talking. They're allowed to keep going through the motions of trying to settle this outside of court, and that's very, very important. But what's also important is this message. Recently, a jury ordered Meta and YouTube to pay millions for their role in designing and promoting addictive platforms. They knew their apps could contribute to anxiety, depression, and body image issues, but did not share those risks while prioritizing profits. The recent historic verdict underscores the...
It's still... I'm trying to... You know what I'm saying? Like, cut right into it. I just really like segues. Like, I love when people get creative and have like a creative segue into their sponsored ad. That's just me though.
The consequences of those decisions. If you or your child spent years growing up on social media and experienced serious mental health struggles, you should hear this. Morgan & Morgan is stepping up to hold these platforms accountable for the harm they caused. You can use the link in my description or scan the QR code to take a short quiz to see if you qualify for a case. You may be entitled to a potential recovery of over $1,000. All right, so let's get into this federal removal. So this just came down. Obviously, you see the in this post here, the lawyers for Ben Schneider, his company, and Victor Wynn have filed a notice of removal in the district court, saying here, generally, this freezes all proceedings until the federal judge decides whether they will take jurisdiction or remand the case. So this is accurate. So essentially, they're going to need to decide what to do now with this removal. So now that they're saying, hey, we want to remove this to federal court, the judge now has to say, okay, is this permissible? Is this not permissible? Are we going to allow that? So what are some of the facts that lead us to...
Okay, well, if it does go to federal court, like, how does this? I just want to know how it helps Ben, or how he flips the board on it or whatever. And like, what? Obviously, what does it mean in general? But like, can can Ben also not just flip the board, but like really get point it back at them, point it back at Bam, and win the case for him, for his side. You know what I'm saying? Can't he get his rewards if he and not just prove his innocence?
This being something they can do. Well, if you look over here, Victor Wynn is a resident of California. Brian Mansell, who agreed to this and consented to this, which is very, very important here, is a resident of Oregon. So there's diversity of citizenship between the plaintiffs and defendants. Diversity means they're not from the same place.
I mean, he does also have him on camera agreeing to give back the set or to pay the money. Like, you know what I'm saying? He does have that on camera, by the way.
They're not all from Utah. This is not a case where everybody is in Utah. They're all Utahians. Sorry, people from Utah. I probably said that wrong.
Utahians?
But you see, that's the
Utahian. I don't think it sounds right.
Primary reason, and that's a very good reason to remove this to federal court. And there are several advantages that
Utahns. I don't know.
Do come along with that. We'll read some other reasoning here. Plaintiff Baker Bricks, LLC, alleges in the complaint that it is a Utah corporation. A corporation shall be deemed to be a citizen of every state and foreign state by which it has been incorporated, and the state or foreign state which has principal place of business. Baker Bricks, LLC's principal place is Utah, and its certification of organization is filed in Utah. Plaintiffs allege that the verified complaint that Baker is a Utah limited liability company. Taking this as true, which we will assume that's true. I don't think they're going to fight that they're a Utah company. The actual plaintiff entity in this lawsuit is Baker, the Utah LLC, not the now dissolved Oregon entity whose trade name Baker is using. Salem Baker Bricks itself was administratively dissolved on January 15th before this lawsuit was filed. In addition, the members of Baker Bricks LLC appear to be Brandon Best and Josh Johnson, who are citizens of Utah, and as shown in the application for reinstatement they filed. So they're saying, hey, look, these guys, this corporation is really a Utah corporation, but we're going to try to get diversity here. And this is a massive advantage for Ben for multiple reasons. First of all, there's stronger First Amendment and anti-SLAPP protection. So First Amendment, free speech, that's going to be very strong.
Yeah, they really can't keep him from talking, right?
At the federal level. And all those anti-SLAPP motions, that's a SLAPP motion is a strategic lawsuit against public participation. So anti-SLAPP is essentially protecting free speech, saying, hey, you can't try to silence Ben with a lawsuit. This can't be a strategic lawsuit to silence Ben. So Utah's anti-SLAPP laws will apply in federal court, and they'll also be...
Just think of SLAPP. Oh, I can't. Just think of SLAPP as silence, and then silence a person in person. Silence app, or the silence app. SLAPP is a silence app. They try to. That's what they'll try to do to you. They'll try to hit you with that silence app. Shh.
Be very strong First Amendment protections there. There also will be a better shot at dismissing or weakening RICO cases. Now, federal judges are very familiar with RICO. They are well versed in their RICO claims. So going into federal court with judges that know RICO might give them a better shot of dismissing it, particularly as they argue, Ben argues, this is really a cobbled together case based on, bad facts, based on things that aren't true. So weakening and dismissing the RICO claims might be something that would be more advantageous at the federal level. Also, it's perceived as a neutral forum. So federal courts are often perceived as more fair because of their procedures, because of the judges. It's not going to be somebody who's perceived as a local judge who might be beneficial to the local Utah business against the foreign Californians and other people from other states. It's going to be a perceived area where the procedure, the judges are used to people from other jurisdictions or used to people from other states, and therefore it's somewhere that is perceived as more fair. And generally, I would say federal courts are very, very fair when dealing with diversity cases. Also, they would get a chance at a fresh review of the TRO. Now, we're going to go into the temporary restraining order and what happened with that on a separate video. So make sure you like this video, you're subscribed, because that's going to be a whole separate video where we talk about the TRO. But they're going to get another bite of the apple if they go to federal court. They're going to get a chance to look at that and tell the federal judge, hey, we think this is, this is crowding our First Amendment right. This is taking away our First Amendment rights. And a federal judge might be willing to say, you know what, even though this was a win for Ben, because I do think Ben is still winning when it comes to TRO, I think he would be able to win harder in federal court. Also, in terms of strategic leverage and settlement and procedure, all of that is going to be more fair. And also the leverage, the visibility, the power that Ben has, that's going to be increased by moving it to federal court versus state court. So Ben,
looks like a buff. He's getting a buff, a power buff, like an all-around, all-stat buff. So this will, hopefully he'll be able to, well, he should be able to talk, and he should be able to at least have an easier time pleading his case and showing to the judge that, hey, these guys are the actual bad guys. Like, we have them here saying, hey, that they will give back the set. And he never did. He went back on his word. So as long as the judge is actually fair, I don't see why this would go wrong for Ben. Feel me? At the same time, I also feel like the other group, the other party, is definitely trying to get a certain judge in the court for them. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they would definitely try to get to rig that shit. Ben might still be in trouble.
Ben is going to be in a better situation in that mediation, in the negotiations with Bricks and Minifigs, in order to come to a reasonable settlement with them. So let's go to my judgment. So in judgment, I think it's an excellent tactical move by Ben's team. I think this was very wise for them to do to try to move this to federal court. So big up on Ben's lawyers. I think they're doing an excellent job so far. And this is something that will change the game if they're able to get it into federal court. And it'll be perceived as more fair procedurally, and will also protect Ben's speech. I think his First Amendment rights will be best protected in federal court. I'm not saying that his First Amendment goes away in state court. That's not at all the case, but I do think that federal judges are very careful about the First Amendment. So they might be,
like you said, it was more. Also, you said it was more, just more protected. But this is great news for Ben. I like it. Because we all know that he needs, it's trying to, the big fish is trying to eat the little fish and trying to silence the little fish. And it's just kind of like in the stories you hear about where big companies are just kind of like being rude to the little, trying to take down the little guy, and the little guy somehow wins. It's like one of those stories in real life. It's cool. Interesting. You don't really get to see that sometimes.
Even more on Ben's side when it comes down to the rulings. And that's what I think a lot of people are looking at is, hey, how are we going to protect his freedom of speech and his ability to make videos and make content? Now, this is not a win for Ben. Ben doesn't
let him release part 3. Do it. Do it.
Automatically win because it goes to federal court. However, it does massively increase his leverage, and I think Bricks and Minifigs is now pushed even deeper into a position to settle. So Bricks and Minifigs keeps taking L's. They keep pushed back and back and back on their position, and I think Bricks and Minifigs didn't want to settle with Ben. I think that they wanted to kind of fight this out, but the more that he's fighting back with these procedural moves like moving to federal court, the better position he's in. And I think they can come to a better settlement when they eventually get there, which is what I think this will come down to in the end. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one.
Why, thank you, Mr. Andrew Esquire from Legal Mindset. Oh, wait, hold up. There we go. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for that. And let me know what y'all think in the comments below, because I'm really obviously I'm hoping that Reckless Ben is vindicated, you know? Like I can't believe they actually got him behind bars to begin with. That's what I'm really surprised about. Like hold on, man. This dude is actually doing time right now? Come on, fam. You gotta be kidding me. Why not? The big corporation is trying to eat the little is trying to bully the little guy, so we'll see if he can overcome and see what happens. We'll keep a check on this, and yeah. Peace. Much love to you.